The views and opinions expressed in this program are solely those of the individual speakers and do not necessarily reflect the views or positions of Cosplay Alliance, our partners and affiliates. This episode of the Cosplay Alliance podcast may contain coarse language or sensitive subject matters. Viewer and listener discretion is advised.
Welcome everyone to another episode of the Cosplay Alliance podcast. I'm your host Anthony, and tonight we have a bunch of amazing, talented international cosplayers here with us. Unfortunately, a few of them couldn't make it, but we have some great ones here tonight, and we're gonna go around and let everyone introduce themselves. Let me know your cosplay names, your real names, if you want to share, your locations, and how many years you've been cosplaying. So we'll go here. Let me see if I can highlight. Bring one person forward. How do I do that? There you go.
Okay, hi, I'm Katie Does Cosplay. I'm from the UK and I've been cosplaying for 7 years, so since 2018.
Beautiful.
Hi everybody, I'm Bamsy. I'm from Toronto, Canada, and I have been cosplaying since 2011. So a while now.
Hey guys, how you doing? This is Majid Cosplay. I'm from Kuwait, Middle East, and I've been cosplay since 2013.
Hi everybody, I am Volante Cosplay, or you can just call me Chantal. I have been cosplaying since 2022 and I am from Guyana.
Hi guys, my Instagram is DorkNugget, but you can call me Alexandria. I have been cosplaying since 2014, and I'm actually both from America and the UK. So
You're cheating.
no,
Double dipping.
no.
All right. So, what got everyone into cosplay? Like, what made you want to become a cosplayer and start this journey? If anyone wants to answer that, just raise your hands and I'll go. Okay.
Halloween just didn't end for me ever. No, I'm kidding. For me, it's that cliche tale as old as time. You know, I loved dressing up as a kid, and I apparently never grew out of that phase. I can remember my first con. And actually, no, what really got me into cosplay was actually this group called Polylay Productions. They were a British cosplayer group back in the early 2010s, did a bunch of like Left 4 Dead content, Disney content, Kingdom Hearts stuff. And I was like, whoa, it's not Halloween and they're getting to dress up like that. I want to do that. And then before you know it, just kept snowballing. I learned how to pick up on some things. And when I started doing conventions, like my first one was in 2014, I realized there's more people like me out there. And ever since, it's been amazing.
Beautiful. Anyone else?
So I started cosplay, and in general, let's say the pop culture art was a gift for my birthday, and my birthday from my mom and dad, because since I was young, I was like obsessed with comic books, superheroes, and these kind of things and anime. And I remember back then when I went to my first convention, I was like amazed by the amount of talented people who like dressing up and performing on the stage. I was so amazed. I said like to myself, yeah, maybe I should continue with this comic and the pop culture and the comic content. So I start my first cosplay there after the con after in the same year. And I begin with like, let's say, makeup, putting some special effects makeup, and until 2 years like after that, I want to upgrade myself to see the world of the crafting and playing with foam. And since back then, I decided to join competition because it's like when I was young, I always like love to see actors, and I would like being hanging out with some, young actors in my country. And uh, let's say like I started collecting myself and go over fear to jump in the stage and do some performance. And until now, I love performing. So yeah, this is everything I can tell. And until I went to this huge cosplay competition, which is the World Cosplay Summit. It was 2018. After that, I literally like some cons signed me to be a judge, international judge, and I like been
Nice.
traveling to be different countries. I see different, cultures, people who do cosplay in a different way, and until now.
Beautiful.
So it was my best friend, and she took me to my first Comic Con, and that was back in 2015. And we both cosplayed, but very casually. And I kind of just remember seeing cosplayers around the con and being like, "Oh, they have like photographers. Like, what are they doing? How did they do that?" And it just kind of piqued my interest. But it took me another 3 years, and I went back to another Comic Con, and just fell in love with it from then. And just bringing the characters to life and crafting are probably my two favorite parts of the hobby, as well as being on stage. But yeah.
Beautiful. There you go. Ang's here now.
Hi.
Hi.
So, yeah, so
Hi.
we're just talking about
Sorry
what
I'm
got you
late.
guys into cosplay. If you wanna chime in, what got you started as a cosplayer?
Yeah, sure. Actually, I started cosplaying 15 years ago or something, and it was actually through friends who were going to like anime conventions, and that was like a whole new thing for me because in Sweden we had like a website called BC Manga, and it was like a meeting place for people who had an interest in Japan, and we started off with having different kind of what do you call it, meetups, and then we had picnics with one another, and that's basically how
Oh, you froze there
it
for a bit.
started for me.
Okay.
So I started cosplaying for the first time in 2009. And yeah, and my first cosplay was like a Vocaloid character. I don't remember her name, but she was very no, I think she was supposed to be like a trans person actually. So that was that, and from there I started. Since I was in high school, I started sewing in high school, and then it pretty much went from there. So yeah, that's how I got started.
Beautiful.
And yeah.
Nice. Bamsi, Chantel?
Go, girl.
Yeah, I'll go. So I was basically introduced to cosplay purely through the online space, so like YouTube, and then hearing about things like Comic Con and other big cons and so on, just like through the news and through the online space. But for a long time, it felt like something that was super inaccessible because we didn't have cons or cosplay or anything like that here in Guyana for a very long time. Our first con was actually in 2022. And I remember being so excited. And I went to that because, ever since I learned about what cosplay was, it was something that I really just wanted to do. Just the idea of being in costume, being in character. I just really connected with something about that. And I remember going to that con in 2022. I went as Maki from Fire Force, and I met so many amazing local cosplayers. And we just all formed these huge, close knit friend groups. We all taught each other little bits of what we know. This person taught me to craft. I taught this person something else, and now it's just something that I have fallen in love with, and I love doing it so much.
Beautiful.
Hi, it's similar for me. I went to my very first convention in 2008, and I know like a lot of us, I was that nerdy kid in school that watched anime and played a lot of video games, and everyone thought was weird. So one of my best friends at the time went to Anime North. It's like a local convention here in Toronto, and she said, "You got to come with me to this event." So we planned it. I went with her. So this was 2008, and it was my first time that I got to feel like appreciated and a part of something, understood. At that time, we were just there as regular congoers in regular outfits. I was like 13. I was really young, so impressionable and a little like, wow, this world is incredible, and there's people that are dressed up like these series that I adore, and I want to do that. So it took me another 2 years before I got the confidence to really do my first cosplay. But it's through cons and conventions that I've met some of the most important people in my life, one even being my husband. Cosplay has just been such an amazing way to connect deeply with people and really find like your family, your true family. And the crafting of it just became something I fell absolutely in love with, building armors and large size props and spilling my heart and soul and blood and tears into these projects to physically show them my love and appreciation. Just continued to build the drive, and it just became art in its own form as well, to like start to perform and kind of take really fancy photo shoot photos and just bring those characters that I adore so much to life.
Awesome. And I've still yet to go to Anime North. I think this year will be the year.
This year, you got to come this
Yeah.
year.
Next question, because I know a lot of people, especially myself. I'm from Guyana as well, but I think our families and our friends. How understanding were your family and friends when you first started cosplay? Who wants to answer?
I could start.
All right.
Okay.
I'll go to my
Because I was so young, my mom and my dad, like they knew I liked anime. They heard me watching things my whole life, like Sailor Moon, Pokemon, Digimon, all that stuff, the classics. It wasn't
Yeah.
until I started watching some of the quote unquote darker things, like Death Note, that my mom's like, "What is this? What are you obsessing? Death what?" And then I was, I want to go to this convention with my friends. So she's like, okay. And then since I've never missed a Anime North since I went in 2008. So it started off with, what is this thing you're doing all weekend? And it turned into, yeah, she loves this. She started wearing cool costumes that she's spilling her heart and soul into. And some of them, it took me a while before I did anything like a little bit more sexy, because I had, I was a young girl still, and my parents were watching what I was doing. But my mom actually got really excited seeing me really learn all kinds sorts of skills. I come from an automotive background too. I'm a mechanic by trade. So seeing what I've learned all my life with my dad and being able to incorporate into like woodworking and making mechanisms for like wings and stuff, he got super into it too. And from there, it just grew and grew into obsession that has not stopped 15 years later.
Wow.
I can go next.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, no, you're good.
It's okay. Well, my story with my parents, yeah, they are like the first supporters to me. The first people who introduced me to this world when I was young. They like watching me when open the TV, and we have a channel called Space Tune. It will like all show all kind of animes, like Digimon, Pokemon, Detective Conan, and I was like addicted to these kind of things until I discovered that there's comic books about Marvels and DC, and I kept asking about these magazines and these comics until I was the until I reached like middle school and the first in high school. Okay, maybe before like high school. Okay, uh, I was maybe 14. They said, "Listen, there is a convention in the weekend. People like with the same as the stuff you're watching and reading about. So how about we take you there on your birthday?" So it was a weekend, and I agreed, and I went. And since that time, I was like, always asking them because how to do stuff, how should I create, how should to start? Because I will tell my dad, he's a decoration designer, okay, and my mom, she's a wall painter. So they have this background of art, and they kept teaching me how to use, EVA foam, cardboard a lot, and yeah, wood, because my dad, he have a wood workshop. And yeah, I kept learning until they saw that I have a big ambition, and I have a big potential to this stuff. So yeah, it was a challenge for them because they always want see me as a sport guy, but suddenly I'm turning to this cosplay thing. Yeah. uh and they like kept supporting until, you know, they even to ask my brother and sister to join me, because
Wow.
they saw that I needed some help with, you know, the stage, because I will say in Kuwait here locally, the let's say the stage part and performing in competition will always have the group. So, you know, I want some backup. So I didn't find only my brother and sister to support me with this. And like they were so supportive, and they were like full energy to work day and night. And you know, they're like keep learning until they reach to a very good level. And yeah, I can that's how it started, and this is how it's going on until now.
Awesome. That's amazing.
Thank you.
Who was next?
I can go
I
next.
can
Oh,
Oh, sorry.
paper,
No, you go. You can go.
Rock, paper, scissors first. So who's going?
Oh, who did this? You know what? Let Katie go.
All right.
Yeah, I mean, my family, they were really quite, I mean, whether or not they still understand the cosplay hobby as a whole and the reason why I enjoy getting dressed up in characters is to be questioned. But they do support me, and they kind of have since I started. And I did get into cosplay probably later in life. So it meant that I obviously had my own adult money to spend my own way. So there wasn't any kind of like blockers in terms of that, in terms of youth. But they've known that I've always been really creative. And I think it's really sweet actually, because my mum a couple of years ago, as a Christmas present, she requested a cosplay photo book of all my cosplays. And then my dad every year, he'll also I'll, you know, like on your Christmas list, like I'll put some wish list items, like, you know, like a craft knife or a Dremel and stuff like that. And he'll always make sure that he gets those bits. So like this one this year was a new craft mat. So they're really supportive. And I think it's really sweet, even if they're sort of like, here's this wig head stand that you want for some reason. Enjoy. So that's kind of like, that's their vibe really. They're supportive, but they don't quite get it, I think.
Okay. So I was always a weird child growing up, and my mom, when I first started, she was really involved with everything. My mother was crafty, like she was working on furniture. She was always doing something around the house, and she used to sew as a kid. So when I went to my first convention, we got together and kind of made my little costume from Walking Dead. I would do like a gender bent, like Carl from Walking Dead. There's a famous scene where he's like a pudding bucket and he's just this kid in the zombie apocalypse eating pudding. So we got to like paint that, all sorts of stuff. And then it just became more and more. And when she saw me at this convention for the first time, she knew I found my people. She knew I found my element and my happiness, or at least a part of it. But it just expanded. We started working more together. She was very resourceful too. Even though we didn't have like a big budget for things, we were always finding something to get creative about and seeing what we had around the house, or if we could do it a different type of way. And it just kept going on and on and on. And throughout the years, I've become more independent as I've been able to pick up skills, and she supports from afar, but also still sometimes gets involved. It's a hard hobby, cosplay is sometimes. Sometimes you need help. Like sometimes you need a mannequin, which might be somebody in my household, or sometimes I need my mother to sit down so I can style a wig specifically the way I want it to. But as I got older, it's been fun because now she dreads kind of when I start to get in my con crunching and con preparation phase, because the entire dining room table gets taken over for about a couple weeks solid. But she's so happy that I'm still doing this. She's completely supportive. There's so many times that she's shoving phones in her friend's faces, like, oh, look what my daughter did. And it would be an embarrassing photo from years and years and years ago where I'm like, why not show something that I did recent where like it's actually improved? And she's always still down to help, which I find great. It's honestly given us a lot of time to bond together, and I've learned so much from her. And it's almost sentimental. I'm not going to cry, I swear. But like some of these cosplays I can't ever get rid of because we made it together. Like our first cosplay that we really, really made together, where I learned how to do capes, was my Raven cosplay, which that is the original cosplay from 2017 that I still have to this day. Same cape, same everything. And That's where we learned how to make the belt for Raven and so on and so forth. And she means a lot to me, and she knows this means a lot to me, and she's been supportive through and through, even though she screams at me every time to get everything off the table.
As moms do.
Yeah.
What did I do? Did everyone's screen turn big too? Or just mine? Oh, there you go. Never mind. It was my screen. Okay, so what's something unique? Chantel, did you want to chime in?
Oh, no, it's okay. It's okay.
I know you have the same experience as me, but okay. What's something unique to your country in terms of cosplay that I would say specifically unique to just your country alone? What's something that's you would say this is?
Well, I want to start.
Okay, all right.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Okay, well, I think that it's actually, like we have like something called
Oops.
fika in Sweden.
Oops, you
So
froze.
that in fika is basically like
Yeah, you have something called what? Sorry, you froze for a second.
fika is basically like it's basically you take somebody out for like coffee or something, and something that when I first started cosplaying, at least, that we have picnics, and we would actually bring something from like your home or something you bake to people, and that's basically what fika is. It's like you just give somebody coffee, or like you give them pastries, and I think that's very something that's a lot of Swedish people like, and also Swedish cosplayers that really like fika. And I think that I think it's sad, but also that people are very in Swedish events. We have it's not the same size as US cosplay to my understanding, but it's like very small events, and they're very cozy, and everybody is very like very warm and open to one another. So it's like very relaxing, and everybody. I mean, not everybody get along, but people are very like. People may not know each other, but they're very helpful, and they will always like stop and maybe ask how you're doing, and you can just come along with people. Especially at the biggest event in Sweden is called Närcon, and it's Närcon, and När means near, and it's like I have so many lovely memories there. So it's like you can just be somebody who are like, maybe you go around alone or something, and you will always be somebody there who is like very helpful to you, and you never feel like left out. So that's that. And also that this event is near, like it's actually in a university campus, but there is also like a camping site very near. So a lot of people who go to Narcon, usually in the summer, they usually camp outside there. And I have never heard of, it's like a camping. You can actually camp there for the whole event. So that's something that's not what I've heard from other events, at least not even in other Scandinavian countries. So I think that's very unique. Aside from like people will always like maybe invite you for a coffee or like pastries or something like that. So that's that.
You had me at coffee and pastries.
That's very cool.
Yeah.
I wish we had that in Canada. That's awesome.
You can buy it like at IKEA, so it's a very common thing to like just it's a thing in IKEA, the furniture store. So it's like if you go to the what's it called, where they serve food or something, you can just buy there. So that's like the most Swedish thing that you can like ever found anywhere near
Swedish meatballs
around the world. Yeah.
I'm going to
I'm not
IKEA
gonna go to
now.
Sweden because
Now
you're
I'm
lucky if you
hungry.
get a protein bar and a cup of water during a convention over here.
I know. Who wants to go next? What's something unique?
Okay, I will say that the most unique thing about Kuwait is that we have let's say, the biggest, most professional and international, you can say, college or academy of art, which you can go there and you can decide to learn about being a decoration engineer for cinema and theater, or actor for both cinema and theater, or like you can like be a director and writer for both things. And many of people, you know, in art in general, not just cosplay, who graduated from there having um a high graded bachelor degree, uh, s- guaranteed from the government and the Ministry of Education in Kuwait. And I was so lucky to be graduated from there and to go to the field of, you know, being an engineer for decoration and designing and learning about, you know, more about cosplay and, you know, get more knowledge about how to create props for, you know, the theater, and how to use the props and the decoration for, you know, some magic tricks and, you know, decoration tricks. And yeah, this is the most thing that people all like, many people in GCC, you know, the neighbor countries, like travel to Kuwait, have their, you know, study vacation to
Yeah.
know and to go to this college and, you know, get a degree, a high degree, and it's a bachelor degree, so they can continue for the, you know, the field that they want, the hobby that they want. And I'm one of them now. I'm an art teacher.
Period.
There we
Cool.
go.
Thank you.
Nice.
That's
That's
Cool.
sick.
cool.
That's so cool.
Thank you.
Ramsey, what's unique about cosplaying in Toronto?
I don't know, honestly.
I
I
don't know
mean,
either.
you can probably back me up. I mean, I've only been to conventions here in Canada and the US. I've never been more international than that. I would love to, especially in Europe. I would love to
Mhm.
go. God, there's no history in North America like there is in Europe. We don't got castles
Yeah.
and shit. It's really boring out here. We're very limited for shoot stuff. So like for me, I've been to so many American and Canadian that they kind of meld together,
Yeah.
and it's kind of one of the scenes that are really heavily published on the internet.
Mm.
So like I know old like Toronto community, we used to do a lot of like cosplay picnics in the summer. Those don't happen anymore because there's just no one that picked up the mantle to keep doing it. Also, we got kicked out of a lot of public parks because there's always someone that
Oh,
is getting belligerently
oh
drunk in the
no.
middle of a
Oh
park
my
in
God.
Toronto on a Sunday and is
Mm.
making issues. So we got kicked out of a lot of parks. So I think that didn't help. But we used to have a very, very wholesome, tight knit community, and I think now it's just exploded. It's so big
Mhm.
that it's hard to tell if it's like, is it just us that does this, or is it just the community now? That's just what we do. I
I
don't know if
agree.
if you could disagree with that. And like, I don't
No,
know if
I
there's
agree
anything
with
like
you.
quite special anymore about us, which is kind of sad.
And there's such a like like I wouldn't say a divide, but there's such like a difference in I think the age groups of cosplayers as well too.
Hmm.
Um, with the
Like when I
anime
went to my
stuff and
first US con, I felt like at the time I was only 19 when I went to my first US con, and everyone thought I was a baby at there. But in Toronto, I was like the average slash getting the older crowd, and now I'm 31 and I'm like grandma in my community. And when I go to the US, I'm just like average. So that's the only thing is the Canadian community is really, really young. Like
yeah.
really young. I mean, I started at 13, so it's yeah, we start young up here.
Anybody else? Chantel, you wanted to go, right?
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, so something I think is interesting is the way we find ways to sort of integrate other aspects of Guyanese or Caribbean culture into our cons. I remember one year there was like live steel pan music at one of the cons. You know, you had like they had a whole steel pan group there playing you know, different songs, anime songs, other songs. And I think that's really cool, you know, the way we do that. And then last year, one of the cons, the whole theme of the con was focused on or centered around rather folklore. So, you know, you had people kind of trying to incorporate various aspects of local folklore into their cosplay, into their, even the vendors at these conventions will, you know, design their booths according to the theme. So I had a friend who did like a really cool twist on one of our local legends. So I think that's something that might be a bit unique to Guyana. I'm not sure how, you know, other countries might do that as well.
Oh. Cool. There you go. Anybody else? UK. What's so special about the UK?
I think Dork Nugget, sorry. I forgot your name. It's embarrassing. Wanted to go, but I don't think there's much. Again, I think it's a bit like the US and Canadian kind of scenes. I feel as though it's very basic. I mean, I think the only one thing that I can think of is the fact that when we do shoots at Comic Cons, we don't actually pay for them. The events actually sort of stop people from charging for photo shoots on site.
Oh,
So it's like time for print, I think is what it's called. So it's essentially, the photographer is taking their time and also the cosplayer is as well. So you're basically being a free model and then they're being a free photographer because you're both working together. I think that's one of the more unique aspects of UK cosplay scene, because I think in America, I know that most often it's charged for, I think.
Yeah.
But yeah.
yeah.
So.
If you've established clientele or like you're a known photographer in our community, usually they charge you a rate per hour or for so many photos. But there's a lot of people that are like starting out that they have to do it for free. But then there's the cosplayers that some of them take advantage and they'll only shoot if you're free. It's a mix. It's a mixed bag. But that's cool that like conventions, it's like if you're at a convention, that's what it is. Because I agree.
Yeah.
I agree to some point that, I spent hundreds of hours and hundreds of dollars on my stuff. And I got to pay more money for photographers that I don't quite know, hoping that they're going to be good.
Yeah.
Doesn't
seem fair.
get them at all.
We have something similar in Sweden at the convention. You can actually get your photos taken for free, but but there are some photographers that obviously value their time with the picture, so they sometimes want to get paid upfront, and you have to like book with them. But in most cases, you can get your photos taken for free. But I recently started doing it that I just work with other photographers. Sometimes it's outside of cosplay, and then I pay for my pictures. But in most cases in Swedish events, you can get your picture taken for free, but you just have to tell the photographer what your idea is and what kind of photos you want. And so yeah. And another thing also that I want to say that's unique to Swedish events is that in a lot of Swedish events, what I know is that a lot of congoers go around with a free hug sign, and I have heard from people who also go to UK events is that this doesn't exist there. So it's something like some congoers and cosplayers are actually very frustrated with this in Swedish events, that they don't want to stop and hug every single person that they
There's a
see
reason
at
why it's not
convention.
it's not popular here anymore.
That used to be a big
There's a reason. Yeah, there's a reason for that.
2000 free hug lines,
Yeah.
and then glomping destroyed that scene. People just surprise, like jump hugging onto complete strangers with no provocation, like not broken costumes or people getting injured. It got banned real quick. So some people still kind of do it at events, but like they don't stand with the sign. It's just like people just shout it, and some people will hug you and some people won't. Also, COVID kind of killed that a lot.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, I think
about COVID,
in Sweden, it's very common to. In Sweden, it's very common that you don't actually hug people that you don't know, because a lot of people like they love their space and whatever. But in conventions, has become a thing that you just hug each other. But yeah, sometimes it's very frustrating to to just do it. But yeah.
Yeah, like I want to say something about the events here. Like the community is so challenging. They love challenging. That's why, like, if you had a chance, and I hope you guys have a chance to come to Kuwait, you will see a lot of cosplayers going to the competition with, serious face and serious, challenging face. You'll see a lot of, potential from all ages, especially the young ones. Like, I judge so many competition in the Middle East, but I have never seen like the upcoming generation of cosplayers, those new, people. They love, to compete. They love a lot. So, and many people I saw using, aluminum swords, but, not sharp, but, like these metal things, and it's so heavy.
That's banned here.
Yeah.
You're not allowed in the building with metal.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, some of our events, will, close their eyes about these things if, there's someone, an adult is watching. But as I see, like, it's really competitive people and love to challenge. So yeah, this is like, if you're gonna talk about event, this is the most, impressive thing about my Kuwait and, the GCC, that they love to compete in competitions.
Now, what are some challenges that you guys faced in your countries? Whether it be weather, supplies. What
Weather
are
up
some challenges?
here, it's the weather. Half of the year we're in frigid snow temperatures. And I've spent many a years con crunching. Specifically, I don't know if a lot of you know what KatsuCon is. It's a pretty big event in the US.
Yeah.
It's kind of where like people bring like their best of the best. So my family got very used to, from December until the middle of February, I was in full con crunch mode, and I'm huddled either outside in the freezing snow, spray painting, and then bringing it inside so that it can cure, and stinking up the entire house and garage with spray paint fumes. That's a major one. And then just having to suffer through the freezing cold to wear a not so covered costume at a event in March here.
I'll switch with you.
You freeze for the vibe, for the costume.
I was gonna say I'll switch with you because down here I live in the southeast of America, so I'm right here in Hotlanta, Georgia. Let me tell you, most of the cons are pretty hot. So if you have any like full length, even if you're in your bikini, it is incredibly hot down here. Dragon Con is a very big con down here.
Go to Dragon Con.
Be prepared. Let me tell you. Let me tell you, because the thing is,
Same here a lot.
Yeah, it gets so hot, and the sad part about it is, because Dragon Con is so big, that's where a lot of people want to like go and showcase their stuff. And a cool and unique thing about America is it's like such a big melting pot. Everybody's from everywhere, which is really cool. But at Dragon Con, everybody's bringing their best of the best, and when you work so hard on a costume and you're so excited with the makeup, or especially the wigs, and you get out into Hotlanta for a second, gets so hot, you're maybe out there for 2 hours and you're done. We're
not going to talk about the party.
Yeah.
The Dragon Con party.
Dragon Con is party con.
Listen, we could talk about the daytime. The daytime's fine. I will say, yeah, that's another thing about American cons. It is pretty much party central. They've started to change. Florida used to be a huge party central convention area. You had like Hallmat down there, but that's recently changed to more of a MegaCon vibe. But yeah, Dragon Con is definitely the party con. It's kind of our most famous con down here in the Southeast. For anybody who has not gone, it's great in the daytime. Bring your kids in the day, have some fun. But when that sun goes down, hide your kids and have fun.
Lock them up.
Oh yeah, and it's a very demanding con. This con never ends. Like, they shut everything down maybe like, I don't know, about 3 a.m. in the morning, maybe 2:30 a.m. in the morning, but things are still going on. It is a lot. And just to piggyback off of what Bamsy was saying earlier about the photography scene, along with Katie, photography scene's starting to change a little bit around here. Recently at MomoCon, I'm not an anime fan, but I went to MomoCon, and that was my hot take. I went to an anime convention. I don't like anime. Why did I do it? I don't know. But they were actually not letting photographers shoot on convention grounds or anywhere near the venue. You had to have a vendor's pass. You had to have a vendor's or a press pass in order to set up any light stands. And it was a little weird because I had a great photographer I was working with, and we were shooting for free. He had a small light stand, but then he switched over to just his camera because they told us no. And they still got on to us. And I've heard something similar actually over in the UK, Chester Cosplay. He recently just made a story about how, or a TikTok on how they're kind of doing the same thing. Like, you have to now pay to do photography.
I know that's been cracking down at a few conventions around the US and stuff. Nothing really in Canada yet. Sometimes they won't let you shoot in specific areas of our events because of the crowding, but they haven't fully locked it down. Thank God.
For me, I enjoy photographers because that helps us as cosplayers, and it's a great symbiotic relationship. And I will say, like, when you find a good photographer and you've worked with them, a lot of photographers who do charge, they do a free session with you, maybe like once or twice, and then they're like, hey, how about we set up something, a little different? But
Yeah.
I will say, once you pay a photographer to do something, at least the ones that I've worked with, which would be like Brian Imagery and, our boy Jeffrey Jenkins, if anybody knows his work, love my Jeffy Jeff. They spend a lot of time and a lot of dedication to make sure everything is absolutely stunning. But there have been some times where I think my biggest pet peeve is where a photographer comes up and asks me to take the photo, like take the photo of me. And then they turn around and go, okay, that'll be $50. Like, hello?
No. No.
You asked to take the photo of
Don't
me.
you
Like,
bamboozle me with that nonsense.
don't bamboozle me with
Delete
that.
the photo. Go on, sir.
Yeah, but other than the heat in America, sometimes the biggest struggle as well can be, and not to get a little political, it can be kind of, at least for a woman, it can be kind of scary. There's been a few times because there's so many crowds and it's in so many big cities, these conventions, and gun laws are a little laxed over here. There's been a couple of times where I've, as a woman at these cons, so I don't like going alone, especially to American cons. You never know what's going to kind of happen, but the communities, they're down here, they're great. And I can't remember who said it. ADHD is terrible, but I think it was our girl from Sweden said everyone's so friendly and so nice. Great thing about going to American cons is nobody's really a stranger. If you're like lost and ask for directions, they're going to talk to you like you're their best friend, and they'll be like, oh yeah, it's down here, or we can walk you to it. They're just so nice here.
Okay, that's cool. I have a plan to go to the US.
I think from
Come on.
yes,
You got a variety down there, man.
So, Katie, I
Yeah.
assume your biggest struggle is the rain.
Yeah, I was going to say, I
That's the same
mean,
for me too.
much like everyone else, I think it's the weather that's the biggest thing. At the minute, actually, there is a storm in the UK, and I love the name of it because it's Storm Eowyn. But there was also a Comic-Con that was happening down in London this weekend, so it's also called
God.
MegaCon, but
Yeah.
not to the level of the American MegaCon.
Yeah.
It's not as mega?
Not as mega. Oh, don't tell me
We
that.
still love it. We still love it. But yeah, there was people down there this weekend in that weather, in the wind and the rain. Like we've been experiencing some crazy, and it disrupts travel as well. Like a lot of people that I know that wanted to try to get down there, it disrupt their trains. They couldn't get there and things. But I think the one thing that you should never underestimate British cosplayers, because we will go outside in any weather, whether it's snowing, raining, a storm. We will be out there, and we also won't be wearing anything that's appropriate for the weather. Like you'll see people in tiny cosplays, and you're like, how have you not frozen to death? And then also in the summer, you get the reverse of that. So like we do also have some warm days that aren't wet, and they'll be there in full EVA foam armor, layers of stuff, and I'm like, again, how have you not passed out yet? So yeah, I think the British are a bit silly when it comes to being sensible with the weather, but it is what it is. So yeah,
I'm gonna need that weather to clear out because on Wednesday I'm in town in London, so I need that weather to scoot on. But I will say summers get very, very hot. It's like I can never escape the heat. My first time to MCM, I was in 2017, and I was in this full-scale Black Widow costume. Now, it was basically so thick, it was like wearing a car seat. I had light gray Deadpool socks on. Took my boot off, emptied my boot, water out. My socks were now a dark gray, and I was literally sludging all the way back to my little hotel room at the Ibis, which trail.
So yeah, yourself out of that one.
Yeah.
I think
that's
wildly enough, you'd think the weather down here in the Caribbean would be the main issue, but it's really not. For me, it does get hot, don't get me wrong. But for me, at least, and with other cosplayers here I've talked to, our biggest issue, I think, is like availability of materials, because it's so new here. You can't just go into a store and find things like EVA foam doesn't exist. Certain other materials, things like foam, clay, plasti dip, they're not easily accessible. So what we kind of have to do is, unless we ship it in, we got to get creative. We got to see, okay, what's the next best available material I can use? And I kind of love that because you see people get so creative and use, materials you wouldn't think would work to create just some absolutely lovely cosplays. And I think that's
If you
so
wanna
cool.
if you wanna look at someone that does something like that, you should check out Fred Wolf because
Yeah.
he
We
started out
love
that way.
resourcefulness with that stuff. Even like I've seen a lot of people doing recycling cosplays,
Yeah.
really taking old pieces and rejigging it, or even just repainting it and breathing new life into it. I think is a big deal because cosplay, it does create a lot of garbage. A
Yes.
lot of garbage,
Yeah.
and it's a lot of money even for us that has more accessibility
Yeah.
to it. It's not cheap, so being able to repurpose and reuse or resource something that you already have, old wigs, old pieces of fabric,
Mhm.
cloaks that aren't you don't need a cloak
Yeah,
Even like
anymore,
the
you can
the
make them a
3D
recycling
dress.
prints,
thing.
I think. Yeah, even
Yeah,
3D prints. Yeah, I end up throwing away
3D
so
prints a
much.
lot. It's a
Yeah.
lot of plastic
Yeah.
garbage. I feel so
Yes.
bad.
I think one of my favorite trends right now with recycling cosplay in the United States is a bunch of friends in my different group of friends. Sorry, I can't English today. Well, anyway, a bunch of my friends in different groups and social circles are taking like their old Black Widow suits, especially like the Civil War, the Winter Soldier ones, and turning them into Bat costumes from like the Bat family. So like Cassandra Cain, Stephanie Brown, Barbara Gordon, and they're making those
Oh, okay.
into cool Bat family costumes, which I really might have to jump in on that because these are expensive
I
suits.
love that. They're
Mm.
expensive. I recently did a similar thing where I actually cosplayed Batwoman earlier in the year, and then I needed a suit for my Lingering Will cosplay. So I was like, you know what? Bye bye Batwoman suit. Time to repurpose you.
I was gonna say for you, Chantel, I thought blackouts and bugs were gonna be the main issues.
Blackouts can be a problem, especially like
Wow.
if you're in the middle of crafting and need to use a heat gun, and all of a sudden there's no power. You have to wait.
Mm.
Ooh.
I hear that from my sister all the time.
Yeah, it can be
Like
frustrating.
yeah. If you want to tell me about the challenging things, I have two. As Katie said, that like we have cosplayers who challenging the weather thing in Kuwait. If it's cold, they will still work and go with whatever suits the character, even if it's a light clothing. Or if it's hot, they will you will see them when with their like Iron Man for the armor costume. Like we have a guy here who doesn't leave Guts armor alone. Every convention you will see him with Guts armor. And I was like, I don't know. You keep this armor or like you redo every piece got damaged. And think about Kuwait, like in summer. In summer, unfortunately, maybe it will shock you. Our degree can go from 55 to 60 degree. You know, it's like hot, hot. It's not joke. Like
Jeez.
if you can see one of my picture in my page, Sekiro, the last picture I posted about Sekiro, I was doing a photo shoot and it was 57, I think, degree, and I was in a walking park with some like big tree, and even it's not helping, and my face was like slowly melting around, and like I had to Photoshop some to remove the sweating and like re-put the lines and the scars. Yeah, it was a big challenge to stay doing the session of the photo shoot with this weather. And like if you saw Sekiro, it have a lot of layer of
Oh
clothing.
yeah, it's a lot of
Yeah.
Ooh.
fabric.
Yeah. And the second challenging thing, as she said, uh the recycling. Now I'm having issue because in the school like that I'm working on, the school that I'm teaching on, I have to do some workshop with the kids, teaching them about how to recycle things to make something out of them. And since they discovered that I'm cosplayer, they said, okay, we want you to teach kids about cosplay, but from recycled materials. I was like, okay, will you provide me? They said, yeah, we will provide you half as you said, we are cosplayers struggling with the budget. So they said, yeah, we will give you half of the budget and like you can cover. I was like, you want me to cover 32 students? I was like, yeah, okay, so why not? So, as you guys said, I went to to the backyard and collect some wood, some plastic sheets, some, foam, used foam to teach them about how to recycle materials and how to recycle things. Yeah, so this is a challenge, a big challenge I faced literally and lately.
The next topic will be what is one convention?
Can
Sorry.
I
Yeah, go
also
ahead.
want to say something? Hello.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I feel like a little bit forgotten here. But I just want to say that we also have something similar in Sweden with the budget things because a lot of Swedish people, generally speaking, likes to be very like resourceful also with the money and stuff like that. So I have recently seen there's also other cosplayers that have been holding panels and stuff like that where they talk about how you can cosplay on a budget, that you take fabric that you may already have at home, that you also reuse cosplays for maybe a different character or something, and that you borrow wigs from your friends. So that's a very good thing. I personally do it myself too, and that you don't always have to feel pressure to buy a new costume
Yeah.
or make a new costume. And then that's something that I feel personally that I'm struggling with is that finding what cosplay I want to do next. And cosplay is a very long process, and it's not a very cheap hobby either. But it's like as long as as long as you also find characters that you feel like that you want to reuse all the more than once is kind of a good thing to keep in mind. And it's also that in Sweden now it's more popular. We have everything that you can find here, but we don't like in the States or something. We don't have like costume stores anymore because one of the biggest one here is it will actually definitely close down. So most people buy things online or go to secondhand shops and look if they cannot find something for a cosplay or something. But we don't have masquerade boutiques here anymore,
Hmm.
at least where I live. So I have to look at secondhand stores or go to the most cheapest store that sells fabric because usually local stores are can be very expensive. And another thing is also, I would say,
Yeah.
the weather. Yeah, for me personally, I mostly do like summer or spring cosplays that are fitted for that weather. I don't do so much winter cosplays anymore. I think the last one I did was probably Korra, but that was like a couple of years ago. And but mostly Swedish people really are this. They will always we will also like brave the weather. It is cold that people will probably use like a summer cosplay or something and don't care about the weather. And I guess that's like the Viking jeans or something. And in the and in the summer, I guess people will probably like maybe reuse winter or a costume that is meant for like colder weather or something. So it can be either actually. So yeah.
We're just crazy. We
And
just
yes,
we want to
Yeah.
wear it. I
Yeah.
don't care
Yeah.
what temperature it
Yeah.
is. Hopefully it's not
Dedication.
yeah,
raining, so I'm gonna
and
soak
another
and my
thing
wig
is
doesn't get
also that
ruined.
Like
and
I can
another
see
thing is
everyone having
also
a
I
problem
feel
with the weather.
personally like it's not so common. It's not so common that there are people who know each other and are friends and buddy, and they do like I guess cosplay. What do you call it? Cosplay workshops together. And I feel that where I live, it's a place that have started having them, but I feel like I feel like that's a hard thing to do because people who are friends with one another will do that with one another. But I kind of miss that feeling where it was like a more general things that you did with other cosplayers that you may not know so well, because cosplay workshop is common in Swedish events at least. We also have this that you can just go somewhere and fix your costume, and I don't think it's available in I'm not saying it doesn't exist anywhere else, but it's a very common thing in Swedish events at least. But I just miss that when it's more with more common places where you can just go and work on cosplays together with other cosplayers, and I feel like I don't see much that outside of conventions. But I live in a very big city. It's not the biggest one. I don't live in Stockholm, I mean. But it's like it's something that's has been becoming more of a normal thing. I would say, if it's not with somebody that you already know.
Yeah.
So how about that weather?
The weather.
Actually, it's raining right
Yeah.
now.
I'm gonna ask.
Props to all of you. Yeah, props to all of you who stay in cosplays during the heat. The cold, absolutely, but the heat, we have an ongoing joke in some of my friend groups where it's let's see how clothed Dork Nugget is by the end of the day at con, because I'll walk in full costume and then I'll walk out wig cap on. 90% of my cosplay is gone, and I'm just living life.
Some people actually install like fans and stuff in their costume too.
Yeah.
Huh?
Yeah.
Some people have fans, like they'll build, like they'll pre-plan. If you have time to pre-plan. I don't even have time to make sure I have pockets. Never mind air conditioning. But like,
electric fans will save your life during like any hot convention or any like hot heat. I can't tell you, especially if you have like face paint on, or especially if you have like heavy makeup on. It has saved me so many times. And Dragon Con, sometimes I'll bring also a physical fan. I can actually see it right now sitting over there. It's a big old clatter fan where it's like when you go, it clatters. Great way to save you. But yeah, there's been quite a few times where I can't do it. I'm ripping my wig off. I don't care if I'm in public. I'll walk around looking like an egghead for all I care. It's too hot.
yeah, I used to be the one that was like, I don't care how hot it is. I don't care if I get heat stroke. I've spent like 2 months making this costume for this day, for this event.
Exactly.
I'm not taking it off. You can't make me take it off.
Nope.
And then you get photos back and you're like, ooh, girl.
Maybe you should have taken it off.
You look like shit.
Yeah.
I did She-Hulk in Atlanta. Big mistake, by the way, because I did full face paint. And by the end of it, because I had darker hair back then too, and I had this, I had a jacket with me when I got back inside, and somebody asked if I was cosplaying Elphaba after she was melting from the water, and I'm like,
Wow.
well, I wasn't, but I am now.
The slight, the shame.
I was like, I guess I am now.
What is one convention, if you had to tell someone one convention in your country to come to, which one would it be? I'm gonna go around to everybody.
So sad.
Oh, this is so hard. I would have, I would have said back. Sorry, my cat's just appeared. I would have said Insomnia Gaming Festival, but sadly it passed away last year. So I think now for me, it's probably any of the Birmingham cons that we have. I prefer the Birmingham event space, the NEC, over the London one, which is in the Excel. So for me, that's MegaCon Birmingham, and then MCM Birmingham as well. Oh, and Fantasy Forest. Love Fantasy Forest.
Ooh, that's the Ren Fair one, right?
Okay.
Yes, it's like a UK Ren Fair. We don't have many, but there you go.
Nice.
Bamsy?
See, I prefer U.S. cons over Canadian cons. I know it's a hot take.
You can't betray us.
I have to pick a Canadian con. My probably favorite Canadian con, it's between two. It's Otakuthon in Montreal. It's an anime-based convention. They actually are like closest to like AX in our standards, where it's actually like heavily focused. So they bring in bands from favorite animes that play those theme songs, and they have like little mini concerts and stuff like that. So for that, I would say for Canada is that. But there's also one that's near and dear to my heart is YetiCon, which is slowly dying. It's a very small convention. It's up in the Blue Mountains. We don't have mountains. Don't. It's not an actual mountain, but it's the closest we get in Ontario. We're very flat here, and it's kind of like a mixture of a colossal con with like some pool party vibes, and it's a really good like hangout, chill event. It's not like a standard like fan expo, all vendors in a building. It's very outdoorsy, hopping between little hotel rooms and hanging out on the hill, taking pictures, as well as like doing little pool party events during the day. So
you going this year? Going this year?
Yeah, I'm gonna try to go at least once. I have a baby, so it's hard to juggle those a little bit more right now. But
I'll be coming for the first time this year.
Oh, I'll be there for Saturday for sure.
Hopefully
maybe
before
or
it dies.
not, he's coming.
What con should I be coming to in Kuwait?
In Kuwait, I would recommend the biggest two cons in Kuwait which is Quantum Con and Confest, because these two, have some special cosplay competition. If you guys like to compete, they have two competitions. Quantum held the World Cosplay Summit, and Confest have this Bulgarian anime stars cosplay competition.
Mm.
It's those are the biggest, most attended con in Kuwait. But if you're gonna ask me like Middle East in general, or like let's say the GCCs, the surrounding countries, I would go for Bahrain Comic Con and MEFCC, which is based in Abu Dhabi. Yeah, they are like the
Mm.
most hugest one, and many people travel to these cons. And hopefully I will be one of the special guests there this year for both cons.
Ooh,
Ooh.
yeah.
Okay, so
Shut-
we only have 2 cons, right? So, and I can't pick. I cannot pick. So I'm gonna plug both. So there's FumoCon. If you want a more like family friendly type vibe, FumoCon's the con for you. And if you want a more like party vibe type thing, Mars. So we have FumoCon and we have Mars, and they're both so dear to me. And you should just go to both. Just go to both.
Period.
Yeah, I'm planning to come to FumoCon next year.
You should. That would
Yeah.
be sick.
I'm planning to. Yeah, they said they weren't doing it this year.
Did they?
I think because of the election or whatever it is, but I don't think
Oh,
they're
but
doing it this year.
that's gonna be way past. I'm not sure.
Yeah,
I
don't
know they run our rent fair. They're running a rent fair in July, so maybe you could make it for the rent fair.
I need to visit. I haven't been there in 20-something years, so I'll visit.
It's a group field
Get
trip.
back here. Get
Oh,
back.
let's go.
Dork, I'm just gonna skip you because I know you're gonna say Dragon Con.
No, I actually wasn't.
Ooh, hot take.
Ooh.
There was a whole
Dragon
reason
too.
why I nearly collapsed when I first heard that question, because it's such a tragic answer I have. So the con that I would have recommended, I no longer will for now, because Hallmat was a medium-size anime convention down in Orlando, but it was right before Christmas. And the thing is, not only was the weather great, but the vibes were just amazing. It was a mix of, your competition type con with your events, but it was also a very chill, party-esque con as well. And it was great because the venue was like a Starship Enterprise. It was the Marriott World Center, and it had so many different like geographical things that you could play with, because their like pool area was built like a jungle lagoon. So there was a lot of fun stuff for like things like I always brought my ivy there, my poison ivy. And they also have some more like cityscape looking things. However, unfortunately, last year their contract ended, so they ended up moving to the convention center. So the entire con has now changed. And I just went in December. I did not go to the con at all. Turns out it's a little bit of a rough start to the new version of this con. And I had friends go. We all roomed together. I ended up going to the Universal theme parks. There's this meme I'm going to post later, but it's a silly little video satire from some dating show or whatever, where it's like the woman finally confronts one of the guys. She's like, I don't think you're actually here to compete for the show. I think you're here for the zip line, because there's like a zip line over the pool. So somebody had edited my face on it and was like, we don't think you're here for Hallmat, we think you're here for the theme parks, which is true. It's just not the same anymore, but it was the most fun I've ever had at cons. Everybody's super chill. Everybody's bringing, their A game with their costumes, and just so many different things would happen at Hallmat. And it was great because, it's near Christmas. Everybody can get drunk and then have fun the next day. Now that kind of vibe is over. So by default, I'm going to have to recommend Dragon Con. I love Dragon Con. It is a big one. It is a very, very big one. However, it is very hot and it is very crowded. There's rumor of expansion with Dragon Con. More hotels might be partnering this year, because I think we hit a record high last year with crowd sizes. But like Hallmat, there's a lot of geographical locations. There's like a lot of city stuff that you could shoot in. There's a lot of
What do they call it? What do they call it when the hotels go up? Is it the Purge? What was the name? I forgot what it was now.
Wait, what?
When the hotels go
Was it
up
called
for Dragon Con, what do they call it again?
Oh, the Hunger Games.
The Hunger Games, there you
is what it is. We call it the Hunger Games. So Yeah, the Hunger Games, you are lucky if you get a host hotel. And when you get a host hotel, it's nice because it basically, all four big ones sit right across from each other on a single like block, which is like a little street length thing. And the moment that hits, it is Hunger Games. You are rushing. It's very similar to San Diego Comic-Con tickets. Everybody's rushing to grab them. We actually crashed the site last year. And I didn't get to do it. I'm always blessed if I even find roommates. Normally with some cons these days, I have like specific people I room with. But this con, it's been a different one every year. I think the last 2 years in a row, I've roomed with total strangers. But that was a lot of fun. This year, somebody threw up their Airbnb 3-minute walk down from the street, and me and my man had snatched that right up. So, but let me tell you,
Wow.
it's very blessed to be in a host hotel. Very blessed. But yeah, DragonCon's great for partying. When I tell you it is like the Hangover movies, if you've never seen those, it is quite literally like that. There's so much chaos that happens. So if you're sometimes like me, where I love to party, but I'm also getting older and I like a quiet night. Just be ready. Just be ready if you go to DragonCon. And bring a lot of liquid IVs, a lot of water, and try to eat. Try to eat some food. They got some great food places, but nobody ever eats, including myself. So yeah, DragonCon's great. Recommend going there.
So you recommend 2 months in advance to book a hotel or 3?
Hun, we're talking a year.
Yeah, I
We're
think
talking a
almost.
year
damn.
out.
Yeah, the
That's
blocks
damn.
open up at a very
Yeah.
specific time, and I know those are some of the ones that KatsuCon's the same, MagFest
Yeah.
the same, where it's at. It's the Hunger Games to
Wow.
get those rooms, and a lot of people are like, if I'm not in a host hotel, if I'm not in the Gaylord for KatsuCon, I'm not going to KatsuCon.
I'm not going.
It's not the
Mhm.
same vibe, and it's like, what?
Yeah,
It's
This
a
is
lot of
this is
pressure,
like a
man.
next level. This is the next level.
Yeah, man.
Okay.
They
No,
go
yeah. The
hard.
only reason why I'm okay with Airbnbs in the surrounding area or different hotels that aren't a host is because they keep the Uber and Lyft prices and taxi prices really, really cheap. Like it's less
Wow.
than $10 for an Uber, which
Okay.
is phenomenal. But this is the first year that I've actually planned in advance because I have so many people here in Atlanta and so many people come from other places to Atlanta. I just text maybe a couple months in advance. I'm like, hey, you guys got room in your place? Can I be a
Wow.
stowaway? And I mean, for an average night in a host hotel, and I'm talking about, you'll have 2 queen beds and like 6 people in one room. You're looking at about $400
Wow.
just for a spot in the room. But this was
Oh
the
my
first
God.
year. Yeah, this was the first year that my boyfriend surprised me last year, funny enough, and he accidentally did his planning the right way. He went ahead and because he knew he was going to surprise me with this, he was planning it in January of last year for the con in September. But we looked at each other and we're like, if we're going to do this, we need to do it now. And I think it was a couple days ago, we had to sit down and really plan all the finances out. But the Hunger Games is crazy. Hunger Games is,
Wow. Like so for real. It's real thing. It's real deal.
oh, and they're
Yeah,
expensive at
because
DragonCon too. You want to get your tickets and hotels open in October. And you're going to want to get your tickets right there in October for next September because at the gate,
what?
inflation's a thing. So it used to be $160 at the door, right? For the Thursday
Mhm.
through the Monday pass. Now it's like
crying in
180,
Canadian, by the way. 'cause I
190.
just, like exchange rate. Oh,
Oh
exchange
yeah,
rate.
no, I'm sorry, buddy. Oh yeah, my Canadians. Oh Lord, yeah, and Australians too. Jesus.
What's a con in Sweden that we should go to?
Like I said before, I would definitely recommend Narcon. It's located in Linköping, and Linköping is like I think it's like 1-2 hours outside of Stockholm, the capital. And another event that I have always gone to is called the Kodachikon, and it's very closer to where I live, and it's in Lund. It's an international city, and it's very relaxing, and it's one of the most smaller events. So it's very cozy, and it's not like in a convention hall or something. It's actually in an old high school. Uh,
Oh, cool.
it used to be in a like a yeah. So it's very nice there. I really like it. And another one also I have to recommend another one because in Sweden we're very known for the smaller events. Another one is in Gothenburg and it's called Confusion Con, and it's located in the one of the museums, I believe. And it's the same vibe. There is very relaxing, and everybody is very nice. And I have been a guest there and held a lecture at a convention. I usually hold lectures about diversity in cosplay. So because I've cosplayed for such a long time, I usually go to different events and talk about that. But I felt very taken care of there, and everybody is like very friendly, and you're like never alone there because Gothenburg is also known as Little London, and everybody generally in Gothenburg is very friendly, and you can like literally talk to anybody there, and like yeah. So those are the events that I would recommend. And NACON is also NACON used to be like a small event too, but since it's in a campus, a university campus, is you can do basically everything there, and they have like also different kind of places for photography. So there is like some place that is like a Japanese garden, you can say, and then they have some future thing going on there, and it's like it turns into like a Japanese event really. And this is in the middle of the summer, so it can be very warm, and usually summer in Sweden is a lot warmer than when I remember when I grew up. So you can like so that's something to keep in mind also when you go to conventions in Sweden in the summer, to just dress very just dress like very casual, and you don't have to have the big prop cosplays with you, but cosplayers who compete and stuff like that, they will bring it. But that's like the best events we have here, and it's also cosplayer from all around and the Nordic countries that come. So it's like the only event that we kind of connect with one another. If you know somebody from Norway or Finland or Denmark, they will be there. So yeah,
It's really cool.
yeah.
I think there's a lot of traveling for us to do.
I know. Group field trip.
yeah.
Who's with
Yeah.
me?
yeah.
I'm ready.
Oh, I'm in.
So,
We'll start it at Dragon Con.
Yes.
We can
Yeah.
all room together too.
Let's all go to Dragon Con.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm planning to go there.
Yeah.
You know, as I said, I'm planning to go to the US.
Someday I
because,
want to
it's
go there
interesting.
too.
Listen, if you ever come here, you got to do one thing. When you're absolutely drunk off your butt, go to Waffle House. Thank me later.
Okay. Okay.
You will
sounds
have
good.
the best but weirdest experience of your life.
Okay. Okay.
No.
Love
I've
it.
been to a Waffle House. I can confirm.
It's not a Waffle House, it's a Waffle
Home.
Home.
Oh, baby.
I'm a big fan of waffles, so yeah, I will like keep that a note to go there.
right. I've
Oh,
been
yeah.
there sober, but I definitely need to go there drunk now.
It's a magical experience when you're there
different.
drunk. Because the food is basic, right? But that's not the whole reason why we're there. Okay, like it's so much fun.
So I think this group here will go to the Waffle Home.
Waffle Home. That's
We
it.
ran it just for us.
All right, I'm gonna
Yeah.
go around because we're what 13 minutes. I know some of you want to sleep, so we'll go around and we'll plug our socials. We'll plug our socials and yeah, let everyone know where we can find you. So we'll go around.
Cool. Mine does what it says on the tin, really, which is Katie Does Cosplay. You can find me on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube.
I'm Bamsy Cosplay on my Instagram and like Facebook and stuff like that. But I'm Bamsy Cos on Twitch, and I stream once a week typically on Tuesdays around the time we started. So you can find me over there.
So as I said, same name, Modest Cosplay. You can find me on Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube.
So you can find me mainly on Instagram at Volante Cosplay. I think on Instagram it's Volante_cosplay, but yeah.
Everyone's got such cool names, and I need to step up my social media game. You'll mainly find me on Instagram. As for TikTok, it just went away, then it just came back. I don't know how long we're staying for, but
And your FYP changed, didn't it?
yeah. Help. Send help, please. But on my TikTok, I am Adventures Alias. So that's ALIAS. I'm probably gonna have to change it to Dork Nugget because it's gonna get confusing on the two different handles. But yeah, those are the only two platforms I have. So I need to step up the social media game.
I am actually Magical Moomin on all of my socials. And I'm also on YouTube, but I mostly do like traveling vlogs. And on Instagram, I'm also very active on Instagram, but my Instagram handle is Magical Atlantean Cause. But on all of the others, I'm Magical Moomin. But I'm considering changing back on Instagram as well because so people can find me and because Magical Moomin is just easier to say. Yeah, and that's also because I love Moomin Trolls so much.
Period.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Thank you so much for coming. I hope you guys have a wonderful day, a wonderful night, wherever you are. And look forward to doing this again.
Thank you for having us.
Oh, thank you
You're
for
welcome.
having me.
Bye.
Thank
All of you
you.
guys.
My pleasure.
Bye.
Thank you so much.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
If you're watching this episode on YouTube, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and check out other episodes of the Cosplay Alliance podcast. The Cosplay Alliance podcast is also available in audio format on all major podcast